Welcome to Good Day, broadcasting from the heart of the Lion's Den and Southeastern's own KSLU radio station. I'm Jamie Dearman.
And I'm James Riley.
Well, James, I think this is going to be a pretty fantastic show, starting with our first special guest, Mr. Todd Delaney, who has graciously allowed us to hijack KSLU for this episode.
Thanks, Mr. Delaney. We're going to be covering a lot of stories today, from the fires in the Amazon rainforest to some news that's happening closer to home. So let's go ahead and get started.
As many of you may know, this is our fourth episode of Good Day. We are a student-run show who are going to be covering multiple topics over the course of the semester, from international stories to some stories happening closer to home. This experience we are gaining, as a result, would not be possible without KSLU's very own Mr. Todd Delaney, who is here to talk to us about the show and what about it he looks forward to. Welcome, Mr. Delaney.
Thank you very much. I appreciate the invite. Yeah.
So, just so our viewers can know a little bit more about you, tell us how long you've been at Southeastern and what your job is here at KSLU.
Been here since 2001. I started off as the program director, took over as the general manager in 2004, and been the general manager of KSLU ever since.
Awesome. So, what inspired you to get into radio?
It was really radio back in the 80s when I grew up as a kid, listening to the radio. There was Wolfman Jack was on the radio then. There was legends all over the place, still around. Casey Kasem comes to mind. And, of course, the local jocks as well. I wanted to be like them. They sounded like they were having fun every moment of every day. And I thought, wow, you can do that? That's a job? That's really cool. I want to do some of that. So that kind of got me into it.
Are you having fun?
I'm still enjoying it. I still get to go to work. I don't got to go to work. It's a nice thing.
So what's the most fulfilling aspect about your job?
Probably the most fulfilling aspect, we teach students here, and one of my favorite things is to hear from our students that went on and were successful, those calls that come back to me and say, hey, Todd, thank you so much for showing me X, Y, and Z, because now I'm doing A, B, and C. And those are some of the most rewarding moments from this job. There's been a lot along the way, but those are the ones that really stand out.
All right, awesome. So now on to Good Day. How did this idea of this whole show come about?
It was probably back in March. Dr. Amber Narrow called me up and said, hey, you've got a studio down there, don't you? Yeah, we got pretty good space. She said, I'm looking to put together a program that needs some space, and we're looking to do like a live video news program. Would you be interested? And I said, yeah, anything that gives students hands-on experience, I think is well worth it. So yeah, let's come on down and put something together, and this is kind of what evolved.
Awesome. Okay, so what do you think the students running the show will get out of it?
I think that's exactly it. That hands-on experience. There's a lot that goes into a program like this. From the research to learning how to run the controls, how to put the mics on the table, and what to put in the background. We'll eventually get a background. A lot of stuff goes into it, but a lot of it has to do with the research behind it, what goes into the script, and that experience is really invaluable once you get out there into your career. I mean, that hands-on experience really gets you your foot in the door, and then it's yours from that point on.
All right, awesome. So what is the significance of the show streaming live from KSLU's Facebook page?
We had a large audience at our Facebook page already, so it's a built-in audience, and they're there. And, it's a very simple thing for them just to click and tune into the show every day. We had considered other platforms, but that just seemed like the right one. Audience is already built in, so let's tap into it.
If it don't broke, don't fix it.
That's right.
So what do you want our viewers to know about when they're watching Good Day?
I think this is really the go-to place, or has been and will continue to be the kind of the clearinghouse of information for Southeastern. You're going to find stories here that you're not going to find anywhere else, because you guys are out there, working a beat, and you're getting interviews and putting together content that's very unique and really speaks to the heart of the campus and the community as well. And I think that exclusive, unique content is really a valuable thing that people are looking for, and it's pretty great that you guys get to be part of that.
Mm.
All right. Well, thank you, Mr. Delaney. We'll be right back after this commercial break.
What do you love most about being a student athlete at Southeastern?
So I chose teammates for life because on our golf team, nobody's from the same spot, but the friendships we've made, once we graduate, I know we'll always be friends, we'll always see each other, we'll always come back and visit.
Welcome back. For the past 9 years, communication majors learn side by side with the foreign language department here in D. Vickers building. However, in the last school year, the departments decided to split entities where the communications became its own college, that of Communications and Media Studies. In June, we welcomed a new department head, Dr. James OConnor. Dr. OConnor is here with us today to discuss how he's adjusting to Hammond, Louisiana, and his vision for the communication department.
Good afternoon. Thanks for inviting me. And one of the first things that I wanted to say is I'm wondering, where do I shut off the hot air down here in Louisiana? I haven't figured that out yet. But that's the biggest adjustment I've had to make, is the weather. But I'm starting to like it. I don't complain about the weather anymore.
There you go. Well, welcome, and I appreciate you joining us today, Doctor. We understand that you're from Philadelphia. You just made a comment about the hot weather down here in Louisiana. How long have you been down here from Philadelphia?
I've been down here since June.
Okay.
Yeah, and now we had a hot they had a hot summer up there in Philadelphia as well, and but this time of year it usually starts to cool down.
Right. Yeah, that's the way it is. I lived in Philadelphia a while when I was a kid on the Navy base, if you can imagine that. Tell us a little about your background before you started working here, sir.
Well, I'm actually originally from New York. I was born in New York City, and I started out, in Upper Manhattan, moved to the Bronx, and then I moved to the town of Pelham. Went to college in Virginia. I was an Army officer, and then I became a newspaper reporter, which I was for about 18 years. And then I started teaching at night at a community college. Really enjoyed it and decided that I wanted to become a college professor. So I got a job at Delaware Valley University in Doylestown, Pennsylvania, which is in Bucks County. And I was there for 15 years.
Wow. Pelham, you say?
Pelham, that's right.
I know exactly where that is. It's a 30-minute train ride from the city,
Absolutely.
from Grand Central Terminal. Yeah, my uncle lived there for years and years, and I visited there so many times. What was your first impression of Southeastern and Hammond when you got here?
Well, one things I liked is that you can live close to work and you don't have to commute very far, and that is an incredible blessing if you've ever had to do a long commute.
Yes,
that's really nice. What I really like so far, the people. People are very welcoming, and I think that the other thing is Louisianans are not just Southerners. I think they're very, very unique people. I would say they're almost real characters is the way I would describe them.
I agree. And that kind of leads into my next question. Actually, I think you kind of answered it. And as far as your observations on the biggest differences between Philadelphia and Hammond, or Louisiana for that fact, is it the people, or are there other differences that you've noticed?
Well, one of the things I noticed is people drive differently.
Yep.
And I think, interestingly enough, when you live up around a big city, that there are a lot of other people that you have to be careful of. I think that in Hammond they're trying to, I think some people kind of, they're not as worried, let's just say that, about the other people on the road.
Yeah.
But what I have noticed is, especially at Southeastern, the students are very motivated for career-oriented, and I think that the impression I'm getting, it's a really nice one, is that they really care about getting an education.
Yes, I agree with that wholeheartedly. Let me move into another question. During the fall semester, there's a lot of recruitment events occurring on campus, mostly, of course, involving high school kids and so forth. As the department head, what advice would you give those students, these high school kids, about transitioning from high school to college?
Well, what I would say is that you need to understand that college is different. It's harder. Everything you go. They used to have a saying in the Army that nobody comes into the Army expecting it to be easy. I think you should approach college the same way. You should not expect college to be easy. However, it can be incredibly enjoyable. I would say the number one thing is to open your mind as wide as you can get it from the moment you start in college. Don't come in with any preconceived notions, and don't close your mind to any ideas, courses, and really, really spread your intellectual wings, and it will be a great experience.
Good advice, Doctor. One final question. For those students considering a communication degree, what advice would you give them about pursuing a career in the communication field?
Well, I think that right now communication is gone through a big process of creative destruction that is just starting to show a lot of opportunities. And what my advice would be if you want to study communication and work as a professional communicator, you should try to become a multi-skilled generalist. In other words, you want to be able to do a little bit of everything, and that you should be able to be prepared to learn your entire life.
Absolutely. Excellent advice. Well, thank you, Dr. O'Connor, for your time and advice to our viewers. We'll be right back after this short message.
Thanks very much.
Hi, I'm Jim Winter, the new artistic director of the Columbia Theater. I'm so moved and excited by the support of our community. For nearly 100 years, this building has been the artistic center of our region. We've shared so many wonderful seasons at the Columbia, and thanks to you, there will be many more. We are proud to present our 2019-2020 season that can only be experienced live.
Now we're going to switch gears, talking about some international news. The widespread fire engulfing South America's Amazon rainforest is certainly causing concern worldwide.
Brazil contains more than half of South America's Amazon rainforest, and government officials there are reporting a huge jump in wildfires, up 84% compared to a year ago. That's put deforestation into the international spotlight, along with Brazil's populist president, Jair Bolsonaro. Thursday without providing evidence. He accused some non-governmental groups of setting fires in the rainforest in retaliation for losing state funds under his administration. He also lashed out at journalists. Bolsonaro has described Brazil's rainforest protections as an obstacle to economic development. He says he wants to convert land for cattle pastures and soybean farms. Thursday, the spokesman for the UN's Secretary General weighed in.
We're very concerned about these fires, both, I think, for the immediate damage that they're causing, and also because sustaining forests is crucial in our fight against climate change.
NASA gauges the scope of the problem through its satellite imagery.
And the fires we're seeing today have all of the hallmark characteristics of deforestation fires. They're being set at the interface between standing Amazon forests and the edge of existing agricultural areas. They're being set at a time of year when the rest of the landscape isn't particularly vulnerable to wildfires. So the human actions that are going into setting these fires are very intentional.
Amnesty International is pinning blame for the wildfires on Bolsonaro, while Germany and Norway have decided to withhold millions in funding for sustainability projects in Brazil's forests. Experts say Brazilians, especially farmers, could be the first victims of excessive deforestation, with higher temperatures leading to less rain and changes in the climate. Ned Barker, Associated Press.
I've seen people on social media complaining a lot about the lack of media coverage on this event.
Yeah, I've been on Twitter recently, and people are comparing this tragedy in the Amazon to the Notre Dame burning last semester.
Did you know that it's actually pronounced Notre Dame? Notre Dame has a football team. Notre Dame is a Gothic building in Paris, which burned recently.
Really? Well, thank you for that correction. I can already tell, however, this is a pretty bad situation in the Amazon. People are also calling out for billionaires across the world to step in and help, much like they did with the Notre Dame. Thank you. Fire.
No,
but
you.
I've heard that with that, there haven't been as much donations as people previously thought there would be.
Right. I haven't seen much about like we're talking about here, not a whole lot of media coverage on that. Unlike with Notre Dame, where they do have websites where you can go and make contributions. They give you that information. I haven't seen anything here on the what's going on in the rainforest.
Interesting. Okay.
Mm-hmm. So, anyways, a lot of billionaires contributing to Notre Dame. Not many contributing at all here to the rainforest. I wonder what the deal is with that.
So we're going to be switching to a local story right now. North Oaks Imaging Associates welcomes interventional radiologist Dr. Sean Gibson. Gibson comes to North Oaks after completing a residency in diagnostic radiology and a fellowship in vascular interventional radiology, say that 3 times fast, at Baylor University Medical Center in Dallas, a level 1 trauma center.
Gibson earned his medical degree at LSU Health Sciences Center in New Orleans, where he volunteered at a student-run clinic providing care to the homeless, as well as Camp Tigers working with children and with special needs, and the Children's Hospital organizing activities for cancer patients and their families. Interventional radiologists use minimally invasive image-guided procedures to diagnose and to treat diseases in nearly every organ system. Additionally, these specialists can identify and correct vascular diseases. They can also deliver cancer treatments directly to tumors.
When we come back, we'll cover some stories closer to home, including the passing of journalist Nancy Parker and former Louisiana Governor Kathleen Blanco.
What opportunity has Southeastern provided you that you will forever be thankful for?
Southeastern's giving me the education I need for my future. Whether or not I go pro, I know I'm going to be successful.
Welcome back, Lions. On Saturday, Xavier University Convention Center held the memorial service for longtime New Orleans anchor Nancy Parker. Parker died tragically in a plane crash in New Orleans East earlier this month. She is remembered as a dedicated award-winning journalist and a devoted mother and wife.
Brandon Stilley is a graduating communication major who wrote a touching tribute to Parker on his Facebook page after news of her death surfaced. Stilley sat down with Cabrina Gordon to discuss how Parker's career has inspired him. Take a look.
Well, thank you, Brandon, for agreeing to sit down here with us today. We're going to sit here and talk about the tragic death of Nancy Parker. Obviously, when news of her death surfaced, a lot of people were shocked, including myself. Talk us through what went through your mind when you heard about how she died.
Well, unfortunately, I was at work, so whenever I learned that she died, I couldn't truly express my emotions. When I learned of her passing, I was literally taken aback. Like, I staggered from where I was standing. I showed my coworkers, and whenever I was able to go home, I was able to watch the news to see how she died. And the emotions really took me back because for me, as a communication major, I grew up watching her. And her death is something that just really was emotional for me. And I don't think I will ever be able to get over it.
Okay, I know when I saw your Facebook post that you made about her, it was like a really loving tribute to her, and I saw that from a lot of people, especially communication majors here at Southeastern who may have grew up in the New Orleans area or surrounding areas, and they were able to see her on TV every night. So talk me through what you said about how she was inspiring. So what about her as a journalist inspired you?
Well, Nancy was a true people person, and that was reflected in the multiple tributes that many of the TV stations did. Her memorial that was played on Fox 8 a couple of days ago, everybody had something nice to say, and she was always somebody that had something nice to say about others. You know, every time that you went to watch a Fox 8 newscast, you saw the love that she had for New Orleans and that she had for the citizens, not only just in New Orleans, but the entire New Orleans market area. And that means the North Shore, that means the river parishes. It felt like she was in your home. It felt like she was a part of your family. And for me, having watched her for 19 years, because I started watching TV and Nancy whenever I was 2 years old. So it basically made me a part of her family, it felt like.
And I know it's a true testament to how professional her coworkers were, because they had to go to the scene that they heard that 2 people had died tragically in the plane crash, and they didn't even realize at first that she was one of them. And then for him to have to get on live on the news, and you could hear the pain in their voice when they talked about her and how they looked up to her and how good of a coworker and a journalist that she was. It really was a testament to their professionalism.
I totally agree, and to be honest, I would be surprised if they didn't, you know, at least show some emotion, because you look at Lee Zurich and you look at Shelley Brown and you look at Kim Holden. They worked with Nancy for 20, 30 plus years. And to be able to work with somebody for that long and to have the relationship that they had with Nancy, that's something that, like me, it's never going to leave their lives. She had such an impact on everybody that she worked with. And unfortunately, I'm, I guess, upset that I wouldn't be able to work with her, because I feel like I missed out on being able to have that relationship with somebody that meant so much to people down here.
So, since you're a graduating senior and you're a communication major, talk to us about what your plans are after graduation and how you say that Nancy Parker's career has impacted the path that you want to take.
Well, over the past 3.5 years that I've been at Southeastern, I've done multiple things with Southeastern and the broadcast spectrum related. Unfortunately, it's not going to be what I'm going into my career for. I will be going into teaching after I graduate, and hopefully I can teach my students what it's like to be a broadcasting student, to be able to see that you need to take the personal side of it. And if I can draw anything from the life of Nancy Parker, it's that you want to make sure that the people that you're interviewing or the people that you're working with know how good of a person you are and live your life like that. And hopefully, whenever I go for my master's program in Mississippi State, I can use that, and if I so chose to go on air, I can use what Nancy taught me to take my career forward.
Okay. I think I speak well for you and me how her life was cut short tragically, but I know that she will be remembered as award-winning, as a dedicated journalist. I know she has resonated with not just people like us who study communication in school, but also people who watched her on TV. Like, I'm from the West Bank of New Orleans. I grew up watching her and John Snell every night. So it was really shocking, but at least we can remember her, and then may she rest in peace. And it's just, she was an inspiration to us all, I think so.
Oh, and I totally agree. Because I'm from Slidell. I've lived in Slidell for the majority of my life. So, like I said, I grew up watching Nancy. Fox 8 is the really only news channel that I'll watch. And to see how they made sure that the news of her death was not tainted by some biased opinion that some newscaster may have had of her. They memorialized her in only a light that Nancy Parker could have given. It was like truly she was shining down from heaven through their broadcast.
Well, thank you again, Brandon, for meeting with us. We're just happy to talk about Nancy Parker and how inspiring she was.
Absolutely, no problem. I'd be glad to do it again.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Sabrina. We'll be right back after this short message.
Why do you support Southeastern Athletics?
So Southeastern is where our family started. We met my wife here, met all our friends here, and now it's given us 2 beautiful children, and now it's part of our family.
We're back for our final piece on Good Day. Hundreds of mourners packed a Louisiana cathedral to say farewell to the state's only female governor, Kathleen Blanco, at the start of 3 days of memorials. The public visited with Blanco's family Thursday afternoon at the state capitol and paid their last respects to the Democrat who led Louisiana through the massive blows of Hurricanes Katrina and Rita.
We all know that Kathleen Blanco was the first woman to hold the office of governor of Louisiana, and she certainly will not be the last. And I suspect that every person here believes that Kathleen knew them and loved them individually. And you are all right. She did.
Current and former state officials filled an interfaith service for Blanco on Thursday morning in a Baton Rouge cathedral. Governor John Bel Edwards told those assembled that Blanco was a special leader who was authentic, consistent, and sincere. Her casket was then carried to Louisiana Capitol as bagpipes played Amazing Grace, and her one-time staff members and cabinet secretaries lined the steps. Blanco died at the age of 76 after a long struggle with cancer. She served one term as governor from 2004 to 2008, but she held several other elected jobs in Louisiana across 2 decades.
She'll certainly be missed. As we close today's show, we want to congratulate the River Ridge Little League baseball team for winning the World Series. Good going, boys.
Thanks for joining us on Good Day. I'm Jamie Dearman.
And I'm James Riley. See you tomorrow at 4:30 Southeastern time.
Bye, y'all.